Hello and welcome to the Divorce to Bliss podcast. Here you will learn all things related to healing from divorce, mind, body, and spirit, so you can create a beautiful new life filled with happiness. I'm Rachel Ruby, author of Divorce to Bliss, divorce coach, speaker, and attorney, and I'm so glad you found me here. Hello and welcome to the Divorce to Bliss podcast. I'm Rachel Ruby. I'm so glad to have you here for this episode. We are going to be talking about a very important topic, which is taking ownership after divorce. And my guest today is Allison Andrews Canter. Allison is the author of Ownership, Your Personal Life is Your Business, in which she teaches how to take ownership of one's life from multiple perspectives. We'll have links to the book at the end of the podcast so you can find out where to get it. Allison is an entrepreneur. She's a business consultant, speaker, recognized thought leader, ownership coach, the founder of Fashion Week San Diego and other businesses. You know how much I love women who are strong and amazing in business, right? And she's also passionate about supporting others in their business and personal development goals. So I'm honored to have Allison here today. Thank you so much for joining me, Allison.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. I love having these conversations. So thank you.
You're welcome. Welcome to the podcast. It's going to be fun. So first of all, let's answer the obviously $1 million question, which is, what does it mean to take ownership of one's life after divorce? We'll focus on divorce, obviously. And
yes.
Why is it so imperative that we notice this and start figuring it out quickly after we're divorced or when we're going through the divorce?
Yeah, I think especially in the circumstance of divorce, you have to kind of go back to that moment, right? You've been tied your identity and your purpose and your daily habits and life to another individual. And now there's that void. And a lot of women and men find themselves going, oh my gosh, who am I? What do I even like? What's my lifestyle? What are my habits? How do I want to live this next chapter? And what does that look like for me? And I always propose to people, what an awesome opportunity. It's like the world is your oyster. You can rewrite that chapter however you want, and you get to be 100% selfish about it. It's all about you. So you have this unique opportunity in that to also do some self-reflection and reflect and go, okay, what was my role in this marriage? What was my role in this marriage not being sustainable anymore? Where are some of my shortcomings? And how can I also take this opportunity for rebuilding my life to also rebuild myself to be a better version of thyself? And what does that look like? Is that being a better version for my health? Do I want to be healthier? Mentally, physically, emotionally? Do I want to be a better role model for my children if you have children in divorce? What does that look like? Do I want to now maybe show up for my friends, family, community because I've been so focused on another and I've avoided all them and I've been close to that and maybe I want to reconnect with that? So it's a huge, huge catalyst for some of the biggest growth we can have as an individual. And in turn, it's a ripple effect that affects everybody around us for the better. It's kind of like that saying on an airplane, you have to put your mask on first before you can put it on anybody else. Well, most people find themselves coming out of a divorce realizing they haven't put their mask on for a really long time. So we have this awesome opportunity in divorce to really take some self-inventory and go, okay, let's call a spade a spade. Let's be honest. Let's be forthcoming. Let's be truthful. Let's really put it all on the table, all on the chopping block and go, okay, what serves me and what doesn't? And where have I not had ownership of my life? Where have I maybe defaulted to that other individual where maybe I should have had some say, or I should have done the work, or I should have shown up. And now I have to. They're not there. So that's really where this take ownership is you have this really cool opportunity to be like the boss of your life. You know, if it was a corporation, if it was a business, you're the, heavy wears the crown. You're the decision maker. You're the one that if it's a success, great job. If it fails, that's on you too. So you have this opportunity now to kind of retake inventory of your life, your business, your personal life, and take that ownership wherever you need to take it to get you to where you want to be your best version of yourself, to get to that bliss after divorce. And when you're in it, it's sticky, it's mucky, it's hard. You have good days, you have really bad days. That's part of the process. But that is the human experience. But once you can be honest and take that ownership where you need to, where those shortcomings are, and fill those gaps, kind of like Swiss cheese, find the holes and fill them. Oh my gosh, here you are to bliss before you know it.
Yeah. It's wonderful because you and I, all the things you just said are things that I talk about in my book. And I love that we're aligned and on the same page.
Yeah.
You talk in your book about, you see divorce as one of the biggest decisions we make in our lives, aside from marriage and becoming parents. And I want to read something that you wrote in your book. It says, just make sure I'm on that. Divorce emancipated me and set my soul free. I wish divorce wasn't the catalyst for me to finally find me, but it was. And so that is a powerful statement. And I always talk about kind of that we in the marriage, and then, you divorce, and then there's just this me. And you just kind of nailed it when you said you have to figure out who that me is, and you can reinvent yourself. You can, it's your time. And I love that word ownership, taking ownership, and how you kind of compared that to a business and just being your own, controlling your life. So let's talk a little bit about how divorce is one of the most important decisions in your life. Mm-hmm. And also, and in light of how much shame and how much, negativity there is still surrounding, so much stigma still surrounding divorce today, even though it has gotten a little better. Yeah.
Yeah. When it comes to, like you said, that stigma around divorce and shame, it is a really big decision because depending on what community you're tied to with your partner, especially if you've built your sense of community with them. And this can go from your spiritual community, your kids' school community, your business community, your charitable giving community. I had all those communities, and a lot of them were created with my partner, my ex-husband. So what happens is you're now showing up to those communities saying, it didn't work, we failed. There's no other way to say it, right? Even if it's not that, and I don't necessarily believe that on this side of it, but in that moment, you have to go in, and now you're not this unity, you're an individual. And it's reestablishing all new relationships because you weren't an individual in those relationships, in those constructs of those social interactions. And depending on where you're at in your lifestyle and your community, those pressures can be immense. And some people actually avoid getting a divorce because of how strong those relationships can be. I never think that's a reason, though. I can tell you, I would never say anything is a reason not to. I think there's too much of this life that is of value to live in that fear of loss because of another individual and be in a state of unhappiness. I think that is the most damaging thing we can do as individuals. And if you have children, oh my gosh, it's huge. And when I made that statement truly in the book that it's the most important decision, it really is, especially if you have skin in the game, children. Right. It would be a lot easier to divorce somebody. The shrapnel maybe wouldn't be so severe. But see, when you divorce and you have children, you're still tied to that individual. You're not out. See, that's the thing that's the misnomer. You think, oh, I'm going to divorce and good riddance and I'm going to be free and fully emancipated. And the individual is. But then you have to create this new relationship dynamic with boundaries and rules. And you have to set that cadence and you have to set that tone because it's what do you want to accept within this new construct? Because you can't totally get rid of this individual. So what level of interaction do you want to have with this individual? And that's what makes it such an important decision because you have to know it's one thing, just like anything in this life, to go, okay, I know I need to change something, and that acceptance, right? Out of denial, saying, okay, this isn't working, whatever it is. In this case, divorce. This relationship is not sustainable. This is not a fulfilling relationship. This is not a healthy relationship. Whatever the reasons are, this is unsafe. This is not providing me. This is not the original relationship we agreed to enter into. It has become something not that. I can't be here anymore. That's acceptance. That's the first thing, coming up and realizing I can't be in this relationship anymore. It's not going to work. The second thing is, okay, well, what does that look like to remove myself from this partnership? And how does that affect everything in the ecosystem? Businesses you can work out in divorce, community groups and social, you're going to lose some, you're going to keep some, you're going to gain new ones as an independent individual that are going to be stronger and better anyways, and more authentic for how you're operating now. So that's a wash. It's the kids that get really sticky. And the kids is the tough part, but I would never recommend people stay in an unhappy marriage or an unhealthy marriage for the kids. Kids are incredibly resilient, and
they can sense the relationship.
Oh, yeah. Sponges. They see it all. They're more feelers than they are seers and doers. And they can feel that energy and cut it like a butter knife. You know, they feel it before you. You think you're doing a great job parading, wearing the masks, trying to isolate them, you know, look over here, avoid this. No, they already feel it and know it before you even cued into it. So I am a big proponent of not staying in a marriage because of kids. I think that's a really terrible excuse, and there's no victory in that. There's no gold star for that. I think people think there is. There absolutely is not, and your kids usually are worse off than having to navigate and grow character and resilience and grit, which are very highly valuable character traits. And then have the opportunity, like mine do now, to see what a healthy relationship is, to see their mom love the way their mom should be loved, to see a mom react to a man and a husband in a healthy, respectful way. Like that right there is everything. It's a long time coming, and it's not always guaranteed, but you got to kind of keep your eye on the prize too. And, you know, that's where that decision making becomes important. But yeah, it's one of the most critical decisions you can make in your life, because you're literally getting a second lease on life in some cases, in some severities, especially mine. You are getting an opportunity to have a second pass at life, and you have to take it. You really have to take it, but it's a very important decision so you don't repeat the same mistakes and you don't operate the same way that got you in that position in the first place. And that's where taking ownership and making that decision to be better and do better and learn from the experience is everything. Absolutely everything.
Yeah, you brought up some really valid points there. And I agree. And I've talked about this many times about how staying in a marriage when you have children, just because, you know, for the children. I've had so many clients say that to me. And my question is always, like you said, what are your children learning? They're not seeing mommy and daddy kiss each other and laugh together and dance in the living room. They're not seeing those happy, lovey, touchy, feely moments. And so how can you justify that this is for the children? Because you're teaching them that this is a normal love relationship. And what happens is, as you know, as those children go on and get older, they may have issues in their own personal relationships because they may not understand that a relationship can be totally beautiful and different and fulfilling all the needs like you mentioned. So let's kind of, with that, let's jump into co-parenting.
Yeah.
I have had a couple of podcasts on just this topic. So I know there's so much to unravel, but let's talk about taking ownership when it comes to co-parenting. How does somebody do that?
Yes, it's critical. Co-parenting is everything. And you know what? There's a million books. There's a million people that can give you their secret sauce and their recipe, but you have to do what makes sense for the construct of the environment and the relationship you're working with and the individual you're working with, and also for the family unit, the kids, right? What's best. Mm-hmm. So for me, I stumbled through the first 3 years of co-parenting, absolutely stumbled. I really wanted I divorced my ex-husband when my son was 4 months old, and he was a baby, and he was in the NICU for the first 4 months. So I really felt guilty divorcing. I knew I needed to, and I stand by that decision fully and confidently. But there was a part of me, my mom guilt, that felt bad that this baby had just beat all the odds, was alive, and now is in a home environment of two separate parents. And you just can't help. Like my first daughter, at least my eldest, she got, the mom and dad and the house and the family unit and newborn stage, and everything was normal and the way it's supposed to be. And, all the Christmas cards and all the things and family parties. And here's my poor son, and his reality could not be more of the polar opposite, right? So I, in the beginning, would invite my ex-husband to come to my house for dinners and family suppers. I would do birthday parties together. I would invite him, even though it was my Christmas, to be here for Christmas. And what I found out in doing that is it actually, and this is why it's so important to not stay in these things for the kids. I found that my kids, even my son, who was still, under 3, a baby, they could feel the energy shift of me before their dad would even get here, because I would tense up. I would be uncomfortable. I would be unhappy. I didn't want that. Why would I want him in my beautiful oasis I created away from him? Why would I want that energy here? And in my mind, I was like, oh, I'm such a good co-parent. I'm going to try to keep this as good for the kids. And it wasn't, because I get wrapped around the axles. Sure, I showed a front. I showed up, I hosted, I was joyous, I was kind, I, ate the little digs he would deliver as soon as he walked through the door. I would just grin and bear it, accept it. Well, they're absorbing it. They're seeing it.
Right.
And so I realized really quickly one day, it was around the holidays when I was trying to blend us still or let him stay in the fold. And mind you, he never invited me to anything he would do. So, that was also an indicator that you shouldn't maybe be so reciprocal. But again, we try our best. We work with what we're working with. But my daughter said to me, and it hurt so bad, I'll never forget it. She goes, "Why do you hate Daddy?" Mm-hmm. And I went, oof, oh my gosh, here I am. Ooh. Here I am doing all this stuff to try to not show my anger and disappointment, which is really what it is, which is pain, sadness. It's not anger. It's all sadness. That's the funny thing, is people think it's always anger and divorce. It's not sadness. It's always sadness and disappointment. Here I am doing this whole thing to try to avoid that. And this out of the babe's mouth, "Why do you hate my dad?" And I went, okay, great. Mommy doesn't hate your dad. The whole thing. I will always love your dad, which is a very true statement. Don't tell your kids things that aren't true that you don't believe in your core either. I will always love their dad. It's a grain of sand, but it's there, because I wouldn't have them without him. And that is a true statement. Other than that, there's not a lot there, but that's okay. We know that, we accept it, we work with it. But from that day on, I stopped hosting him. I stopped hosting him in my house. I stopped doing joint birthday parties. I moved to be completely independent and solo. The only interaction we do together is at a school function where we're both showing up to support our kids. Other than that, we are completely solo operators. We don't even exchange with each other. It's drop off at school, pick up. And for our ecosystem and for our kids' best benefit, that truly is the right combination, because they don't pick up anything energetically between the two of us, because we're not in that space.
Yeah. And that's wonderful.
Everybody's different, but that's ours.
Everybody's different. Yeah. Everybody has a different situation. And you really have to, that's why it's so important that you do the work, the healing work, you figure out who you are, like we talked about. There's so much work to be done. A lot of people, can't do it on their own, because if you don't heal, you're really not going to know the ways to take ownership and do these things. You have to work on you. And so that brings us, I want to talk a little bit about, taking ownership of one's intuition, and I've had entire podcasts again on intuition. So how do we take ownership of that so we can look inward, we can build confidence, and how it helps us to not allow fear to control us, so we can create a new life after divorce. Because as you and I have both mentioned, fear is so big in divorce. So how can we take ownership of that intuition, which again, a lot of people don't really know much about. Am I intuitive even? And so, please watch the other podcasts on that. But let's talk about ownership and intuition. Yeah.
I can't wait to listen to it, by the way. I'm going to literally listen to it right now when I get in the car. But I'm a huge fan of intuition. I reference it and I speak to it, and my jargon is the gut. And I don't know, I wrote about it in the book too. I talk about it, and we both are completely aligned in this, which I love and respect so much because it's a powerful, powerful tool. And I mean, I propose to your listeners, how many times have they gone, oh my gosh, my gut, my intuition was wrong? 99.9% of the time, you never say that. What you end up saying is, oh my gosh, my gut, my intuitive feeling was accurate. I should have listened to it. So I propose to the listeners, and I propose to anyone who will listen to me on my soapbox anywhere, anytime, that you start really heavily relying on this as a tool. It's a tool. It's there to help guide you. It's a higher intelligence. If you're spiritual, it's maybe the universe or God or your guardian angel speaking to you. I find whatever you want to rationalize it as, but I'll tell you what, when it talks to you, you need to listen to it. Or when it cues you in on something, you need to take note. You need to take a moment, the power of the pause, and you need to go, okay, why am I feeling this way? Why did that thought come into my mind? Okay.
Or sometimes it's
listen to it.
It's a sign. Yeah. Sometimes it's
all of it. All the things. You see something's presented to you. Something comes along your path. Something comes out of left field. All those things. You have to use them as a tool. And I'll tell you what, I don't know anyone that says, oh, I followed my intuition. I listened to my gut. It was wrong. Never have I heard it. And if someone is out there that has had that happen, please reach out to me because I want to hear your story. I truly do. It's not a challenge. I just don't know anybody. I've never in this lifetime yet come across that. So, but when it comes to divorce and learning yourself and taking ownership over yourself again, one of the best healing modalities you can do, and it's hard. I know it's so hard. But one of the best things you can start to flex is trusting yourself and listening to yourself and going to yourself for advice and believing what you say and feel is sound and valid and worthy, and not looking for outside reassurance because they're not you. And your partner and your ex-partner, they're not it anymore, okay? They're not your sound block. They aren't. They're not in your team. I hate to say it. Even if they say they are, no. You need to start flexing that muscle and come internally back to yourself, because ultimately you're stuck with yourself, okay? You got to wake up and go to bed with yourself. Not them, not your neighbor, not your bestie, not your mom, not your dad, not the school counselor. You. So the better you can become comfortable with that relationship. And for some of us, you have to relearn that relationship. Maybe you've never even had that relationship. Awesome. What a cool opportunity. But part of learning that relationship and taking ownership of yourself and starting to trust yourself and value yourself and heal is the first thing is cueing into your intuition and gut, because your higher self always has your best interest, always has your back. Oh my gosh. Always, always. So true. And the sooner you can go, okay, I got you. I hear you. I trust you. Okay. That's the move. I'm going to pivot. That's what I'm going to go with today. It always works out. You could take that to the bank and go cash it. I promise you that.
Yeah, thank you. And it is a very powerful tool. And a lot of people, like I said, at least people I speak with, I'm not intuitive, or I don't. And so definitely there are people who can help you. There are ways you can learn to get in touch with your intuition. We all have it. We just aren't really taught to use it. So those of us who discovered, like as a child, I was very intuitive. I discovered that. I didn't know what it was called that I was intuitive, but I could sense things. I'd think of something and it would happen. Those kinds of things. So there are definitely ways to get in touch with that. If you think, hey, I don't have any intuition, don't worry about that.
We all do.
You discuss in your book taking ownership of one's past, present, and future. What steps can be taken to do this in light of a divorce situation and healing?
Oh, I love this question. This is such a good question. So automatically in divorce, you're thrown into a reflection space. You can't even turn it off. You're going to replay your marriage, dating, the good times. A lot of us focus on the good times and try to forget the bad. And then you're going to freak out and future trip to, oh my gosh, how can I have this life without this person and all these things and how it is. And change is scary and change is hard. And that's valid. So you're already in this natural environment of reflection. So looking at your past, looking at where you're currently at and how awful it is maybe, and your future, it looks just unknown, scary, ominous, all the things. But I would challenge the listeners to reframe it and go back to what we said in the very beginning. It's this amazing gift. It's this amazing opportunity where you can go, okay, in my past, I was this way. I was operating this way. I was this individual. I'm not her anymore. I'm not him anymore. I'm not 20 something anymore. Okay. I wasn't a mom yet. I'm now a mom. That's a whole game changer. You have this great opportunity, this gift. It's truly a gift where you can have a second lease on life. I'm not kidding you if you use it right, where you can go, okay, that's who I was. I can see and honor myself and give myself grace why I made the decisions I did, why I got in that situation, why I thought they were the person, why I did the behaviors and actions I did, whatever they may be, or why they did. Okay, noted. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want that anymore. That's not the character traits I'm going to call in anymore, right? Because again, eventually we don't want to be alone. Humans aren't meant to be alone. So even in the middle of divorce, when you can't think about the future of even being with another person, humans are not meant to be alone. We're an interconnected species. It is what it is. Even the most antisocial are social, okay? So you have to know that eventually at some point, you will arrive at a place of wholeness again and healing where you're going to want that partner. You're going to want that friend. You're going to want that soulmate. You're going to want that companion at any level. Might not be full marriage again, but you're going to want some form of companionship. Okay. So knowing that, it's a great moment to go, okay, I don't want to call in those characteristics of that individual again. I learned from that. Those don't fit me anymore. That was an old operating mode. I've done a system update. We're not the same anymore. We're totally different. And then your present is, okay, yeah, this sucks. You're in it. You're in the muck. Sucks. Not fun. Change is tough. Divorce is nasty. Brings out the worst in people. Even the best people brings out the worst. All character defects are on display. You have kids. That's a whole kit and caboodle of not fun. But it's temporary. It's totally temporary. Okay, kids go on. They have their own life. They're going to be in college. They're going to be out of your home. You will eventually be an empty nester. Life will move on. You will have a new companion. That person will have a new companion. Life changes. It's the only constant we have. So Don't get too caught up in the present where you just get paralyzed, especially in divorce. There's a lot of people that get paralyzed in the presence of it. You have to give yourself a little hope. Hope is a big one. And hope can be of getting out of it. Hope can be for brighter days. Hope can be the fact that you finally get to do a hobby you never got to do in your marriage life. It could be as simple as that. Hope could be for being able to paint and have bed sheets the color you want, because it doesn't matter. It's your environment. No one else is in it. So whatever hope you need to have, hold it in the present because it'll help you get through the present. And then for the future, that's where it's just the world's your oyster. I find that to be so fun. I think the best thing you can do is just be completely audacious, delusional, and even brazen I mean, put down crazy stuff, make a mood board that is just absolute insanity and fun of all the possibilities of everything your heart desires, wants, could do, could not do. Hey, you could maybe move to Spain. Heck yeah. Let's throw some Spain stuff up there. Why not? Why not? Who says you can't? Do it. Have a ball. Future trip and make it fanciful. Make it fun. You know what I always say to my kids, and it's true, is you can make your destination to shoot for the moon, but you know what? If you hit the stars, holy moly, guess what? You're in outer space. How rad is that? You got there. You don't always have to hit the moon, okay? You don't always have to hit the moon. So I think part of the best healing modality, definitely in divorce, when you're in it, is to make the future as bright as possible and fun, and set your navigation and your compass to that North Star, and not get paralyzed by the present moment of what you're in, because it is just that. It's temporary.
Right.
And sometimes temporary can last a couple of years. It can feel forever, but it's not forever. I promise you it's not forever.
Yeah. I love the way you talk about this, because I feel exactly the same. And again, fear is so huge, and it really holds so many people back from getting to this point. And that's why I always say, if you can't work there on your own, or you're having a hard time, find someone to help you, because someone to guide you, someone to show you that these things are possible. I know, you know, that this is reality. This is possible. We can do this for ourselves. It's all about our own choices and how we're going to show up for ourselves and take ownership.
Correct.
And so I just love all this positive talk. And some people have a really hard time listening to this because their mind isn't there yet. And so again, please get help if you are having a hard time with this. Let's talk about, in your book, you talk about risk taking and taking ownership of risk taking. And I haven't really talked about this with another guest before. So can you tell us why it's important in the healing process to take the risks? You kind of just alluded to that a little bit, like if you're going in one direction and you don't get there, but you get somewhere else, enjoy that, appreciate the ride type of thing. But I don't know if you have anything else to say further about risk taking in helping the healing process.
Yeah. So I am a huge proponent. And I authentically live my life this way, and my kids are raised this way. And I've just seen the value with my own clients and with friends and within myself is when we think about our life, it's so easy to get caught up in the mundane of, I got to wake up, I got to get the kids to school, I got to go to work, I got to pay bills, I got to come home, I got to clean my house, I got to do laundry, and I got to go to bed, and then I got to do it all over again. That's not living, okay? That's not life. That's not what we're on our deathbed saying is, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of myself. In my lifetime, I accomplished 7,000 loads of laundry. Nobody's saying that, nobody is saying that. What we're saying is, oh my gosh, I remember that memory of that moment. I remember those relationships. I remember this one time. So I am huge on creating experiences. I think experiences are one of the most powerful healing tools too, especially coming out of divorce. And again, you have to think about the ecosystem. You're an individual who has been lost to an identity of partnership. Some people have been in marriages for 20, 30, 10 years. They don't even know what it is to be an individual again. They don't even know what they like. They don't even have their own individual hobbies. Maybe they only played golf with their husband or their spouse, or pickleball, or played poker, or, I don't know, went and did a book club, whatever it might have been. But maybe that wasn't them as the individual. That was what they did as the couple. So part of my thing about risk taking and experiences is in taking a risk, like saying, you know what? I've never done jujitsu, and it looks fun to be taken to the mat. And I would like to see what that's all about. And you know what? I'm a female. Maybe I'll pick up some self-defense. I don't know. It's a good workout. Why not? I do yoga. I'm limber. I think I can handle it. But there's a part of you that goes, there's no way, Allison, you can't do jujitsu. You've never done karate. You can't do that. And I go, no. I'm going to take a risk and I'm going to put myself in an experience that I've never had before. And what you do is you re-change your brain. You create neural pathways in your brain to change behavior from stinking thinking of I can't, I will not, I haven't, therefore I shouldn't. That's all BS. That needs to just stop immediately. Okay. And what you do is you go, you know what? I'm going to go. And guess what? They might take me to the mat and I go, Uncle, I hate this crap. Get me out of here. Jiu-jitsu is not for me. I'm too pretty for this. Get my face off this mat. I'm not doing it. Okay. Or you go, holy moly. I loved that workout. That was an adrenaline rush. Oh my gosh. I was better than I expected. They were so nice. That was so fun. I met a woman there that's just like me. Who knew? Now I'm going to have coffee with her. And the world starts to unfold. And then guess what happens is you do that one time. And the next time you go, again, I'm going to shoot for the moon here, but I might hit the stars. Jiu-jitsu wasn't so bad. You know what? I've always wanted to fence. Fencing sounds cool and unique and kind of opulent. There's the fencing academy in La Jolla. I'm going to go take a fencing class. This is a true story. I did that. That was one of the experiences I had out of my divorce where I said to myself, what is something I've always wanted to do that I think is really cool that I would never normally do? I have no point of interest. I know nobody who does it. I'm going to go do it. And I went to fence and I loved it. I had gone to a couple classes there. I absolutely adore it. It's super fun. But my adrenaline, the fact that I got myself out of my comfort zone, I took a risk on myself and an interest. Talk about the dividends it paid. Oh my gosh, it's one of the best lessons you can ever do. And you inspire people in your community to also do that. If you have kids watching you, guess what you just taught them? One of the best things about human beings is our resiliency, and we forget that. So one of the ways to kind of stoke it, one of the ways to remind ourselves is putting ourselves in situations that make us slightly uncomfortable, but for a good reason, for fun. Curiosity. Curiosity is huge as a human too. You got to play to it. It's so powerful. It sparks creativity, usefulness, vitality. It's a powerful tool. But the roadmap and the entry point and the tool in the toolbox is an experience. And take a risk with your experience. Don't go do something that you've done before. Pick something completely out of the blue, random, that you had an interest, or maybe you watched the TV show and that's what they did on the TV show and you thought, okay, well, I want to go ride a horse now. Go ride a horse. Go do it. Go ride a horse.
Yep. You nailed it when you said getting out of the comfort zone. And I talk to my clients about this too. And I also talk about this in my book. And I love this idea of just, fear again holds us back. That I can't, oh no, I won't be good at that. No, that's not for me. And, or maybe even things that you had been told by your former spouse, you're not good enough. You're not, whatever it is that you've internalized, it's okay. You have those feelings. That's who you are now. But taking that chance and going to do something totally out of the box, out of the comfort zone, that is the only way that we get ourselves unstuck. And like you said, it snowballs into, yes, you grow and you meet people, like you met the woman and then you went and had coffee with her and you likely became friends with her. And those, when we start to change, when we start to evolve and try these new things, we attract different people to us who we may not have attracted when we were the person we were when we were married, which isn't a bad thing. It's just a different thing, right? It's a difference. You are evolving. You're becoming a new version of you, and you're attracting the people and the situations to yourself that align with the new you. And that is the growth. That is the power. And I love that. So thank you for sharing all your experiences. And
I love the experience. Yeah. I can't get enough of it. I'm also an event guru, so it goes with it. Life is one big event for me, one big experience, and I live it as such.
Well, you talk in your book about your own experiences and sharing those. And I think a lot of times for people who are so, glued to the ground in fear, it really helps to hear these experiences and how other people dealt with it, because maybe that person is more eccentric than you, or they're more outgoing than you. Maybe you're an introvert and they're an extrovert. It doesn't matter. It's the whole idea of picking what is right for you, but what is different at the same time. Like you said, that jiu-jitsu class or something, maybe you've never been artistic in your whole life and you're like, I want
to take a painting class. Correct.
Go take a painting class, right?
Cooking class.
Never cooked anything. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter. Or it can be an academic class. But the whole point is it's not from your house. You get out of that bubble and you go do something outside. Correct. And again, like you said, if you don't like it, you can get in the world. Else. If you do like it, you can add something else. It doesn't matter. If you make a friend, great. Go have coffee with that friend. Go to lunch. So I love how all these things build upon each other when we start stepping outside of our own little bubbles. And that is so important to healing. You can't heal without that. You can't just sit in your house and just sit here the whole time and think that you're going to heal. You can maybe heal a little bit, but in order to to open your heart, which is the whole purpose of healing, opening the heart, you have to have these experiences. So thank you for talking to me today about all these important ways.
Rachel, I love it. I love these conversations. That's my favorite. I want people to be healthy and happy.
Right. And we could probably sit here for hours and talk about this. So I love this little snippet. If you want to hear more about Allison's story, you can get her book. The links are going to be on the podcast at the end of the show. And if you are on the audio, listening to the audio podcast, the links are going to be in the show notes. So Allison, thank you so much for being here today. I don't know if there are any parting words you want to share with our listeners and viewers about taking ownership. But I'll turn it over to you if there's anything you want to. Yeah.
Thank you, Rachel. I love what you're doing. I think it's such important work, and your listeners are lucky to have you. You're like that comforting guru and friend to help shepherd them through a really dark time. And I wish I would have had someone like you when I was going through it. So I thank you for the work you're doing, because it's a yucky space to be in, but it's also a really exciting, thrilling place to be in if you can reframe it and see it as such and rewrite your script. So, I always like to challenge people, and I think that will be my parting words, because I like to have action, and that's what we're all about, right? Let's shoot for that moon and hit the stars, and let's take some ownership. So I would just challenge all your beautiful listeners that are listening to us, and thank you for coming and listening. What is something you can do this week to take some ownership over your life?
Love it. Love it. Yeah. There's your prescription, folks, until the next episode. Find something that is going to be fun and outside of your box. And
then report back to Rachel so she can tell me. We can go do it, Rachel. We can follow you.
I love hearing these stories.
Yes,
I love hearing these stories. So thank you, Allison, so much for being here. And if you are listening to this podcast or watching this podcast and you love what you heard today, or you picked up some little tidbit that made you think, wow, I need to go do that, I'm excited, let us know. But not only let us know, please subscribe to this channel, like, comment, and share. You never know. There are so many people going through the divorce or about to go through the divorce process. So many people who haven't healed yet, who are trying to figure out how to heal. And sometimes if you share something like this with them, it opens up a whole new world for them. So please let me know. I love finding wonderful guests like Allison and wonderful topics to share with you to help you in your healing journey, and share them. I can't wait to hear. So thank you for being here today.